Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today to celebrate World Elephant Day. My name is Lisa Levinson. I'm the Campaigns Director with In Defense of Animals, and we are delighted to have you all here. I'd like to first start the show off here by introducing our 10 Ursus and elephant consultant, Courtney Scott, who's going to lead our program today. Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Lisa. So welcome, everyone. So Itamar, you can go with the first slide. There we go. And now actually go to the next slide. All right, so I'm very honored to welcome Carol Buckley, who's the founder and CEO of Elephant Aid International. During her over 45 years of working with captive elephants, she has garnered a number of firsts, including creating the first natural habitat sanctuary in the US, where elephants were neither chained nor dominated and lived with full autonomy. She also partnered with the government of Nepal to help the country become the first in Asia to release its elephants from chains. It all started back in 1975 when Carol met her first elephant, who she named Tara. Over the years, Carol formed a deep bond with Tara, who provided her with keen insights about the intelligence, kindness, and wisdom of elephants. Insights that informed her work with elephants in the US and in Asia, and helped her to create innovative management protocols for captive elephants. Welcome, Carol. So you can go to the next slide and have Carol speak.
You may need to unmute, Carol.
Carol, you have to unmute.
Okay, here we go. Well, thank you very much for that introduction. And really, how much do you want me to say right now? Because we've got some great videos and good information, and you pretty much, encapsulated that I started in 1975 with a baby elephant named Tara, who has taken me on this life's journey. It's almost 50 years.
Right.
It's been incredible. There's so much that has gone on and so much that she has taught me, and of course, other elephants as well. But
well, it's really up to you. The next slide, a couple slides are going to be your work in Nepal. So if you want to talk a little bit more about Tara right here, this would be the good place for that.
okay,
or if you want to just continue.
So here you see, this is Tara. She was wild caught in Myanmar, which at the time in 1974 was illegal. So she was wild caught from her family, and we don't know what happened to her family, and smuggled into Thailand, and then exported from Thailand into Southern California, where there was a list of people who wanted baby elephants, and it was legal to just have an elephant. So in this photo, I'm sitting in front of the tire store where the owner of Tara would keep her. Her name was Fluffy at the time. And that's because he told me, because she was so hairy, he named her Fluffy. But it was just an immediate relationship, an immediate draw. She was so intelligent. I really was amazed by the level of intelligence and response. So I spent every day with her. I'd go to class in the morning, come back at noon, take care of her, go to class again, come back afterwards, take care of her. And then after about 2 months, I talked her owner into letting me take her home every night. So she'd be on exhibit at the tire store in the back of a delivery truck. And then I would drive her to my house. And I had a big bay window, much like that bay window there in the photo. And I would back her truck up to that and open the back door. And so she could see me inside the house when I was there. And it just started like that. And then it was amazing. I purchased her 2 years later. officially changed her name to Tara. And we initially started doing circus work, which was what was done with elephants at the time. We knew nothing different. So we traveled with small circuses initially, and then about 8 years in, we were pretty bored with the whole thing. And our last show was in New York City with the Big Apple Circus at Lincoln Center. And it was a great send-off. Tara was around 10 at the time, maybe 8 or 9, but she was young. And so we just needed a new and different way. I just wanted something more for her. When she was little, she had fun doing all of that. It was interesting for her, and she had a whole lot of energy. But as she got bigger, things changed. Her needs changed. What we could do and still address all her needs changed. So I don't know what the next slide is, but does it show Tara any older?
Yeah, just go to the next slide, Itamar.
Oh, well, then we're so okay.
I know that was a big jump for you. Sorry.
No, so, at 10, I'm saying, what can I do for this elephant? We're in captivity. Circus is not what I want to do for her. It doesn't give her a full life. And so for a few years, we went to several zoos and actually lived in the zoo. Her and I would live in the zoo with another elephant. And we found that that was not sufficient to meet her psychological needs, her physical needs. It just wasn't going to make it. So I started, thinking more and more what we can do. And then I started the sanctuary. But what this photo shows is years later, when I've gone now to Nepal, India, Nepal, Thailand, to teach mahouts how to trim elephant feet, because they had no idea how. There was some culture of foot trimming, but what happened as the new modern days rolled in Asia, where the mahout was just a person that you hire to work elephants. It wasn't a person who grew up with elephants. These new hires didn't know how to do feet. So I came in and I showed them how to do feet. And a couple of these guys, these two here, they were my interns, and we could communicate with all. Actually, one was from India. There was a two from Thailand and a bunch from Nepal. So we implemented foot care. But my big thing over there in Asia was to introduce chain-free corrals, because when I got there and I saw how elephants were kept, they would have chains around both front ankles. Those were chained together, and then that was pegged to the ground with a tiny short chain. And it was heavy chain. It was big, heavy chain. I remember saying, why are you using that big, humongous, like ship chain? And they said, because they can break it. I said, no, of course I can't break something that big. And then they said, well, it's made in China. So I said, oh yeah, I guess they can break it. So it was really a learning experience. And I found when I went to Asia, I had a poor attitude about mahouts because I blamed them for the poor care of elephants. And then I learned it's not their fault. They are a low-level employee. I mean, really low level. And they are treated very badly. They're cared for very badly, and they live inches away in a little shack from the elephant, inches away, and that's their life. So I got to know them and their motivation and their lack of knowledge about elephants and how interested most of them, the young ones, were in learning. So
Carol, let's just go to the next slide and see what we got.
Yeah.
So do you want to show this video of you showing elephant foot care?
Yes, let's go show that. This video was taken in Nepal, probably the second year I was there. Traction is really important on the elephant's pad. So when it's too thin like this is not good. You want to have tracking, which gives the elephant the ability to have better traction when they're walking. If it's too slick, when they're going up or down a hill, they slide and they have no way to control their movement or protect themselves from sliding. So when I trim, I leave the traps. And I just bevel them out.
So you want to say any more about that, or would you like to go to the next slide?
That was pretty self-explanatory. Let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
So this is in Asia, they do ceremonies before every new thing. I don't care what it is that you're doing. I don't care if you're just going to have a small party or whatever, you have a big ceremony. And at the end, at the completion, you have a huge ceremony. And this is the completion of 63 1-acre chain-free corrals in Chitwan National Park, Nepal, which is huge. That was for 63 of the government-owned elephants that do anti-poaching patrol in Nepal. And those are all the mahouts and all the government officials, and they're giving me an award. And I'm handing out rubber boots and umbrellas and gloves to all the mahouts, and probably something else. What else was there? Oh yeah, all kinds of stuff, because these guys have nothing, absolutely nothing. They wear flip-flops, and so we gave raincoats too. We gave them some equipment to do their job well.
Wow, that's really interesting, Carol. They didn't even have adequate shoes.
No, nothing. They have nothing.
Okay, so go to the next slide, please. So now, Carol, this shows a little bit of the where they're chained, and then afterwards when they're unchained. So did you want to show a little bit of this?
Let's show this, but wait a sec. I want to give
Sure.
So this is in Nepal again, but this is at Tiger Tops, which is a privately owned resort. It's one of the better resorts in Nepal. It's been there for a very long time. And they are the first privately owned elephants that went chain free. They had 12 elephants. We did 6 corrals, and these elephants, just like the government elephants, have access into the national park. So all day long, they're in the national park, walking on natural substrate, eating natural foods. But at night, when they would come back, they used to be chained, but now they're all chain free.
Okay, so play that, Itamar.
So that, of course, was 2 elephants just released into that chain-free corral not 10 minutes before. And the behavior that you're seeing is excitement, happy, talking. They knew what was going on. They had watched some of their other herd members be released in other chain-free corrals. They knew what was happening. It was phenomenal.
Carol, how many years about did they live on those chains?
Well, these elephants are in their late 40s, early 50s, and they've been on chains since they were 1 or 2 years old.
Wow, that is amazing. Okay, Itamar, let's try the next slide. That's the same slide. Okay, we can hold on this for a second, because Carol, you probably want to now talk about, well, you might want to finish up with anything more you want to say about Asia, because this is about your Beau coming to sanctuary. So you may not be quite ready for that yet.
Okay, so I spent about 12 years in Asia. Most of my time was there. I was probably there 9 months out of each year. And I really feel fortunate that I had that experience, because learning the culture is key. If you don't learn the culture, you can't help them. So what I would agree to doing, or suggestions I would make for elephant care, were not up to the high standard that I would require in the US. And that's because in Asia, at this point, it's not possible. So elephants are owned in Asia. They are worked in Asia. So the best I could do for them is to make sure the mahouts could handle them without beating them, to know what the proper diet was, to make them chain free, and learn how to trim their feet. But I can't make them give up their elephants. So.
Yeah. Well, that's their livelihood, right? How do they survive without it?
Well, for me, I'm sorry, but I don't respond well to that, because you can always go get a job doing something else. But because the culture accepts it, then who am I I can't change their mind, but I can change the way they do it.
Yeah. It's what, probably thousands of years.
Oh, yeah, thousands.
Yeah. I guess that would be tough to change.
It is difficult to change. And when you have cultures like some of these Asian cultures, they're ancient and they're rigid, and they do repeat what their elders taught them. It is important. Respect is important, and respect for elders is important. And you never question what an elder says. So I had to be careful when I'm coming in and I'm contradicting what great-great-grandpa said, or some other elder had taught. I am contradicting that person, and I have to do it in a way that can be accepted. So I started by saying, no more chaining, don't hit your elephant, don't make them work. And they looked at me like, go home. So I realized if I wanted to help, I needed to figure out how to get in there and find out what I could change, and not necessarily accept that which I couldn't change, but know that I couldn't change it immediately.
And are you still going to Asia? You're still giving foot care workshops in Asia, correct?
Yeah, actually right now I do it remotely.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah. So I'll get a message saying, Sundamala has a bad toe. And so we connect. They're great with their phones. They can do anything with their phones. So we connect, and I give them instruction while live watching what they're doing. So I can say, no, do this. No, you need to do this, or this is a problem, whatever. But I have not been back to Asia since Beau arrived.
Oh, yeah, right. I guess you're too busy.
Yeah, this is my main responsibility now. And in the future, I hope that all of my staff will be trained well enough that I can leave. But right now, this is the priority. And my programs continue, but just without me in Asia, but just without me there.
Okay, great. So now you want to segue into the sanctuary and Beau.
Yes, Elephant Refuge North America and Beau. So I think this video shows when Beau arrived. And then after,
should we go ahead and show that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and show that. So Beau is amazing. Beau was captive born at Busch Gardens breeding program. And when he was about a year old, he was taken away from his mother and sold to a woman in Southern California who used animals for studio work. I met him when he was about a year old. When he first arrived there, I went and saw him. And then after 5 years, by 5 years, he was a little boy elephant and out of control. So the woman, Cheryl Shaver, sold him or gave him to George Carden. And George Carden owns or did own the Carden Circus. He at the time had several elephants. I think he had 7 Asian elephants, females. He bought Beau, or he got Beau, and Beau was so out of control that he wasn't really of much value. At that time, there was experiments on bull elephants castrating them. And they do chemical castration and surgical castration. And both procedures are very dangerous because the testes are internal, way inside the body. So, but since these 5 baby male elephants really weren't worth anything in the industry, then they experimented on them. Beau was surgically castrated, one of 3 that was surgically castrated. Ned was chemically castrated, and I don't know the other one that was chemically castrated, but 3 survived. One is in a zoo in Mexico. Beau is here with us. And Ned came to me when I was in Tennessee. He was confiscated by USDA. He was skin and bones and had been suffering his entire life following the chemical castration surgery. And he died at 21 years old. Beau was the lucky one because George Carden took such good care of him and treated his wounds 3 times a day. So Beau survived with no side effects from that. And he became the star of the show, of any show he was in. He went on Ringling, I think for 2 years. They took him on Ringling, and he did what we call power tricks. And his power tricks actually crippled his right front leg, Beau did, because he was doing front leg stands on a revolving ball. And that's during his formative years. So as he's growing, he's standing incorrectly, and it was deforming his bones. He has he has pain in that front leg that we have to deal with. He also has pain in his back hips. Not anything that is debilitating, but I notice it. That's the one thing that I just can't deal with, is if an elephant's in pain. So when it got really hot this season, really hot for several days in a row, he swelled up. And of course, the swelling causes pain. So he gets laser therapy, and he also gets remedies for nerve pain and muscle pain. And it usually takes, once I notice that he's in pain, it takes about a day or maybe 2 days, and he'll bounce back from the therapy. And it's nothing invasive. There's no pharmaceuticals, there's no drugs, which are really harsh on elephants. So he does bounce back. And we also bought him a giant misting fan that he likes to stand in front of when it's just seriously hot, like it has been. So he is a gem. This elephant is the wisest, kindest, gentlest, most amazing elephant I have ever met. And I've met a few hundred elephants. He is lovely. And he's not only lovely with people, being cooperative, not being difficult, communicating well, but he's also fantastic with other elephants. So he's just, he was the first elephant to come here. It was like, he's the king, he's the guy. And the next 2 elephants that arrive, he treats them so kindly and teaches them so much. He's amazing. He's now 36 years old. He will live to be 70. So he has a long life ahead of him.
Oh, that's a beautiful story. Thank you, Carol. So let's go to the next slide, Edamar. Oh, next one. There we go. So Carol, if you want to talk about your management protocols, this would be the place.
Okay, so to me, let me see how I frame this. Most people think that there are two ways to manage an elephant or train an elephant. And that the one way is the old traditional, what's called free contact management, which is a dominance-based approach to elephant training and care. And then the other way that people know is protected contact, which is assumed to be non-dominance. But the reality is there are 4 different ways currently that elephants are managed in captivity. The first one is the traditional free contact dominance, which uses negative reinforcement and punishment to train and care for the elephant. The training is harsh enough, but that's not really the most horrible part about it. It's that for the life of that elephant, they have to continually be reminded through negative reinforcement and punishment that they will do what they're told. That's the problem. Every day, every day, every day, it's relentless, right? Now, there's another kind of free contact, and that's what I designed when I was in Tennessee, utilized it there, utilized it in Nepal, taught it in Nepal, and utilize it here. It's free contact, non-dominance. Free contact is what it sounds like. You don't have a barrier between you and the elephant, but you have a relationship. You have utilized protected contact, non-dominance, to develop the relationship that is required for you to be safe and for the elephant to feel safe. So it requires a very strong relationship with a person who knows what they're doing, because a mistake can be horrible. A mistake made by a naive person around elephants can result in an elephant getting hurt or a person getting hurt. So free contact non-dominance should really only be done by someone who knows what they're doing. And that is beautiful. The elephants love it because they're tactile. They like to be touched. They want to touch you. Their relationship with other elephants is very physical. And so if you are never in a physical way with them, they wonder what's wrong. What's happened? What are they afraid of me? What have I done? Okay. Now, protected contact, there's a protected contact dominance. And that's really the standard that is used, because in protected contact that is used in zoos and other places, even though they say the elephant has the choice, the elephant only has the choice to keep saying no until they say yes. Because they don't really ultimately have the choice to say no. Eventually, they're going to give up, break down, give in, and say, okay, I'll do it. That's dominance, okay? Protected contact non-dominance truly is that there's a barrier between you and the elephant. You, the caregiver, have a desire. Maybe you want to trim feed, or maybe you want to drop food for the elephant, okay? And the elephant doesn't really want it at that time, at that place. You as the caregiver, non-dominance, are not going to force it. You will leave. Leave, come back another time, or better yet, where does the elephant want their food dropped? Maybe they don't want it under this tree. Maybe they want it over under that tree. And instead of insisting that the elephant come to that tree to get their food, you just go to the other tree. That's non-dominance. So I'm hoping in the future that there will be a greater understanding of free contact and protected contact, and what it means for those two systems to be dominance-based and non-dominance-based. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions about this, because this is something that people seem to have difficulty comprehending. They think if it's free contact, the elephant gets hit. It's only the elephant gets hit if you're dominating it. But if you're free contact, non-dominant, you're not telling the elephant to do anything. And when I'm around my elephants, I never tell them to do anything. I ask if they would like to. Do you want to lift your foot? Very different from lift your foot. No.
And I think you mentioned that they're much more willing to do it if you ask instead of tell, right?
It's amazing to see, but if you go back to studying the animal's natural behavior, you'll see that herds of elephants aren't telling each other what to do all the time. They cooperate, and they know to exist in a large group with many different individuals, because elephants are definitely individuals. They have to just be cooperative. And so if they're not being told to do something that maybe they're afraid of, if you're trying to force an elephant to do something they're afraid of, you're going to get either the elephant's going to run away, the elephant's just going to be full on resistant, or they're going to be aggressive because there's fear there. And anytime you see aggression out of an elephant, with the exception of a bull elephant that's maybe in musth, aggression underneath all of it is fear.
Interesting. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I think that's an example of protected contact. Yeah, so you want to explain this as protected?
So this is in Thailand, and this is two unrelated elephants, and the little bull was a problematic animal that this facility got. WFFT got this bull, and he was very aggressive. He was probably, I think, 7 at the time. Very aggressive because he had no parameters prior to coming here. And that's why they put him in with the female, so he could start to learn some lessons about behavior and society and how you act as an elephant. And they said, well, he runs at us, he chases us, we have no control over him. I said, well, then let's just do protected contact, because protected contact for a young elephant is fun. I mean, their brain is going 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's so much fun. So you take the target, which has a little soft thing on the end, and you touch their ear, or their foot, their ear, wherever, and you say the word for that body part. So I would touch his ear. He's running at me. He's going to be aggressive. I touch his ear and I say ear, I whistle, and I throw him a treat. I'm telling you, it takes one time. One time. He hears the word. He makes the association, he gets the reward. Okay, so then you're doing this for a few minutes, touching his foot, his tail, his side, and now he forgets about being aggressive. He doesn't need to be aggressive. There's something else going on. And look at the females right there, just watching everything that's happening. Yeah, they're amazing.
Okay, very interesting. So next slide, please. So let's talk about this friendship, Carol.
Well, those of you who know Tara is 49 now. You know that she's a pretty independent spirit. She is very confident. She knows what it is to have a strong, trusting relationship with people. She's had several in her life, long term. But she had a few bad experiences when she was around 10 or 11, when she was first meeting elephants, because they hit her, pushed her and hit her. So that was her first experience. And she said, well, like, elephants aren't to be trusted. So when she turned 21, I started the Elephant Sanctuary in Tennessee. She turned 21. She had the opportunity to meet tens of elephants. And in the beginning, she would be nervous, a little standoffish. She had this habit of never approaching head to head, because that's what hurts, is when you get hit in the head by another elephant. So she has this, everybody knows, she has this thing where she'll walk towards an elephant, then turn around and back up like a truck, beep, 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 up to the elephant. Because if she gets hit in the bum, it doesn't hurt so much to get hit in the head. Anyway, her time in Tennessee, she made friends with elephants, but she didn't bond with any. And, I thought maybe it's because her youth, and because she had such strong relationships with humans, maybe she was having difficulty communicating, and maybe the fear of when she was young. So knowing Beau, I knew that when Tara came, there was a strong possibility that there would be a friendship that would happen here. And it was phenomenal. Now, in the beginning, the first few days, Tara did that, being nervous, oh, he might hit me. And he was so fantastic. That's because he was raised by several other full-grown elephants that taught him the rules, how to act with around elephants. So he knew all of it. So when Tara acted afraid, he would back off a little bit. He never pushed himself. He never took her food. He was so phenomenal. And this picture here is one of the first times Tara is reaching back towards him. And then any of you that have seen any of the footage and photos, oh my gosh, she goes up to him. They're all over each other, touching, and she rubs on him. And she loves him. She just, because he is a good guy. She knows he will never hurt her. That's the bottom line. It's all about fear. So they have a fantastic relationship.
Great. It's clear. Every video I've seen them together acting this way.
It's hysterical.
So next slide, please. Okay, so this is, I think this is Mundi.
This is Mundi.
And it's so interesting, Carol, how they all get along with those two dogs. Is that something common with elephants? What is it, just because of their, I don't know, why don't you talk about it and then we'll play the video.
Okay, so Tara has been around dogs her whole life, and she's very comfortable with all dogs. And what I noticed through her growing up, I mean, one time we're at a street fair, she's 10 years old, there's a million people walking back and forth, and a policeman had a police dog, a big shepherd. And I'm watching because I know Tara starts squeaking, dog, I want to see the dog. And most of the time, a dog that has not been around her will be nervous, that they won't want to walk up to an elephant. But this dog was pulling on the lead, and the policeman looked at me. I said, yes, please. This elephant wants to see the dog. It was the cutest thing. This full-grown police dog comes over and he's wagging his tail, and Tara's talking and petting all over him. So I think it's the elephant tells the dogs. I think the elephant is the one that's saying, what, that this is okay. So I knew that when Beau came, I was warned, don't let any dogs around him, because on the circus, since elephants are chained, they don't let dogs around, especially stray dogs, because those stray dogs might harass the elephants and try and bite them, on the back leg that's chained. So they keep dogs away. So it was probably 2 days after Beau was here that Mala, we only had Mala at the time. I took Mala over there, and Mala had never seen an elephant ever. And I'm sure Beau had seen dogs, but maybe not played with them. And Mala went in there and just started running around, wagging her tail and playing dog. And Beau started playing elephant. So the two of them, playing very different, though there's a bit of chasing going on, they got along fine. And then I think that Sammy came sometime after that, and Sammy is more, he wants to make them play. He wants to make them play. So Beau really likes him because he'll hang around, and Beau likes with Sammy to use his trunk like a tease and tease his trunk around and see if the dog will chase his trunk. Anyway, so I really think it is the dog not being aggressive. And the dogs are a little nervous. They're a little afraid at first, but they're not aggressive. And the elephant letting the dog know it's okay. It's really, I think, how it works. So this is Mundi. She was a different story. Why don't we play the video?
All right.
Oh, the video stopped.
Good girl, Mundi. He's a silly dog, isn't he? So silly dog. Yeah, I know. That's kind of fun, isn't it? Yeah.
So Mundi lived in a zoo, a very small yard in a zoo for 35 years alone. And periodically, an animal, one of the birds or something would get in her yard, and her pattern was she'd chase anything out. If a person came in her yard, she would chase them out. So when she arrived, now I have 2 dogs here that are with the other 2 elephants all the time. They just think they're one of them. So Mundi arrives and the dogs think they just get to run in there and play with her. And she was like, no way. She was after them, and she's fast. So she chased the dogs out. So I realized, oh, there's no communication happening here, or she's afraid. And so it took a while. Actually, it took a while. I really had to condition the dogs and condition her. But once she got in with the other 2 elephants, and she saw that the other 2 elephants were not afraid of being around the dogs, that helped her to understand it was okay. And now what you saw in this video, her and Sammy play and play and play, and he's so excited that she'll chase him, and then he'll chase her, and then she chases him, and then she it didn't really show in the video, I don't think, she lays down and rolls around and gets in the water. And the whole time that was going on, you saw Beau, the talking, that was Beau talking about what was going on. And afterwards Sammy came over, and Beau wanted to play with him, and Sammy says, oh, I'm tired now. So Beau missed out of it. So it's good now. And it's just breaking through the fear.
Great. All right. So next slide, Itamar. Okay, so Carol, there's no audio on this, so you can talk about whatever you want. This is just them in the new mud wallow.
So keep in mind, Mundi, tomorrow, which I think it's tomorrow, Mundi will have been here only 3 months.
Wow.
It's no time at all, okay? But it was immediate that she buddied up to both Beau and Tara, and you saw her, she's 41, so she acts like she's 10, but she's 41.
So go ahead and play it, Itamar, and Carol, you can just talk while it's playing because there's no audio.
So this is a new mud wallow that I made, and here's Beau taking a nap, which he likes to do on a little hill of dirt, and Tara on the far side, of course, just putting some mud on herself, and Mundi, who taught Beau and Tara the glory of mud, because before Mundi came, Tara and Beau did what Asians do, which is water and then dust. And then she taught them, oh, it's already mixed right here. And then you just throw it on you and it just cakes on top of you. And so they copy her now and they do this. But look at how comfortable. And this was probably a month and a half in, of her being here. Just incredible. And part of it is her need, being a highly social animal, being deprived of all that time, 35 years of being alone. And because the 2 elephants that she joined are very kind and compassionate, not aggressive, understanding, and they welcomed her. I mean, that's just what it takes. It just takes a compatible situation to introduce another elephant into. So she's doing great.
Excellent. Okay, next slide, please. So this is just a
photo. This is a photo again to show. This is after they had been in the mud and red Georgia clay. And here this is interesting to me anyway. The Asian elephant skin is very smooth, incredibly smooth. That's because naturally they evolved in forested areas. So they didn't need to have all of the wrinkles that Africans have. African elephants have much more wrinkle, which increases surface area to release heat, because they live in a hotter climate. So because of all of the wrinkles and how rough their skin is, when Mundi puts mud on her, it stays. See? So she's all caked, her whole body. Where the other two, you can see Beau kind of rolled in it a little bit, and Tara's, her color again, because hers slid off and fell off. But this just shows how comfortable, they are together. It's pretty amazing.
I just want to mention that. How hot does it get there, Carol?
Well, up until this year, 90s in the day, hottest 90 in the day. And then at hottest at night, it was about 72, 74. But this year is different. Like it's hitting 97, but feeling like 100,
Wow. But they have their water and they have the shade from all the trees.
Exactly. You see, and Tara is really wise about this, and she's teaching the others. So Tara has lived a wild life since she was 21. She knows the tricks of the trade. She knows, what trees go under, what topography to approach to get the best temperature that she wants. A low line with lots of trees, with water nearby. She knows all of that. And so she's teaching the others. I mean, with Beau in the beginning, he would just stand out in the sun.
Really?
He would just stand there. He would just haven't a clue. No one ever taught him how to do anything. So then I would lead him over to the tree, stand under the tree. And after a few times, he would go, oh, that feels better. Okay, I'll do that. But, it's pretty amazing. And same with Mundi. How would she know? She lived in a zoo yard with no shade.
Yeah. Well, just what made me think of it is, for instance, the Houston Zoo is very hot there. It was like 100 degrees the other day, and they have almost no shade. And I thought, how do those elephants deal with that?
Well, the natural process for elephants is they have to absorb a great percentage on a hot day, a great percentage of the heat, because they can't get rid of it quick enough, let go of it. So they actually store it in their core. They have a core that they store it in. Now, in the wintertime, that's great, because then they can consciously release little bit during the nighttime to stay warm. But in the summertime, they got to dump it. And the way they dump it is, if the temperature drops below 74, they can, like manually, they can release all that heat at night. Now, if it's not lower than 74, they've got to find water or wind or something to help them drop their body temperature to 74 or lower. I mean, drop the ambient temperature 74 or lower, so they can release that heat. Otherwise, they will become overheated and sick and could die from it.
Oh, wow. All right. Next slide, please, Itamar. So, Carol, do you see this question on the screen? Do you have any signs of change or hope for elephants in captivity in zoos and tourist facilities?
I would love to be able to say, oh yeah, change is going to happen. But I've been doing sanctuary since 1995. And in that time, only 3 elephant sanctuaries were created in the US, and 2 of them were by me. So it's a slow process of education. And there are several entities like Steve Wise working on his project to elevate standing or give standing for elephants in the court system. There are people who are trying, but the almighty dollar is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And so you have zoos that are keeping elephants in substandard conditions, in inappropriate social situations, in climates that are just not appropriate. And they're keeping them because it's a draw and the public comes in. So unless we educate the paying public, and that is here and in Asia, the biggest problem in Asia is tourists come and they want to see elephants and they'll pay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I do believe we got to keep trying. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep trying. And there has been change. In 30 years, there has been change. In zoos, it used to be okay to keep 1 elephant alone. Now they know that's not okay. But it's just so slow, and elephants are long-lived, so they suffer for a long time.
Right. Okay, I think we're getting ready for the Q&A. So let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so I think you already answered that first part. What suggestion for helping elephants is just we have to keep working on it. So now we're just going to take some questions and comments. So Mary, you want to help us pick out some?
Yeah, either Mary can help or I can help. And
Okay.
Udamar, if you want to turn the slides off, the share screen. Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. And so we have lots of questions. I want to just take a moment and thank everybody for asking so many great questions. We may not get to all of them, but we will do our best. And thanks to those of you who put them in the Q&A because it's a little easier to find them that way. So let's see. As you mentioned, there's lots of them. So I'll pick out a few. And of course, you know, Courtney or Mary or anyone who would like to also do that. That's okay too. One question, a simple one, is does Tara's name have a special meaning?
Oh, what a wonderful question. Yes, it does. It actually, in some languages in Asia, means star. I thought I made up her name. I put a bunch of letters together and I was looking for how it was going to look because I knew Tara would be famous. Funny, at 21, I knew she'd be famous. And so I wanted it to look good and I wanted it to sound good and sound dignified. So it's not even Tara, it's Tara.
All right. Okay, I'll just give, I see the questions now. I'll go through them. So Carol, I'm sure other people would want to know this. What kind of training methods did you use with Tara when you were in the circus with her?
Well, I got lucky because before I went into circus, Tara and I were together with no influence from the industry. So I took my dog training knowledge, which was operant conditioning, positive reinforcement. And that's how I trained her. So then when I first started in the circus, that's what I used. And then I was approached by prominent people in the industry who said, you can't keep training your or working your elephant that way because it's much too dangerous. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, because she doesn't do what you say right away or the first time you ask her again, and you can't have that. She has to respond immediately because you have her out in the public and she could hurt somebody or she could run away. So I went through a few years of training under Smokey Jones, who was a circus trainer, well respected in the industry at the time. And he taught me the traditional way to train and show elephants. But you see, Tara and I already had a relationship. So I could cheat, I could act like I was being really tough. And then I talked to her and go, Tara, cut it out. They're watching. So I really had an opportunity that other trainers probably don't have in developing my relationship with my elephant before I got into the industry.
All right. What can we do to get the AZA to free elephants from member zoos? Or at least sanction those zoos in some way? Do you have any hope for the AZA, Carol?
Actually, the AZA has an agenda, and we don't agree with it. So, us thinking that we're going to force them to change what they're doing is unrealistic. So the only way to make changes to elephant care is not to approach the AZA. They have no desire to change. You have to do it through legislation.
Okay, through governments then. Okay. All right. Now, a couple people have asked this kind of question. What kind of opportunities exist for the layperson if any training is required, like a vet tech, to actually help elephants or assist at a sanctuary?
Well, I can't speak for other sanctuaries. And I also, I know what goes on in quote unquote sanctuaries in Asia, which are not really sanctuaries. They're just a different way of getting money out of tourists. But as far as my facility, that's a long process to even be around elephants at my facility. You have to come in as a volunteer, and you're not volunteering doing anything with elephants. You're sorting produce and, weed eating and picking up manure and cleaning the barn. And you are in the environment, and you may get a glance of what elephants are out there doing, but I don't expose our elephants. I don't believe in exposing elephants to a bunch of even well-meaning people, because elephants are so evolved and so intelligent that that a person can do something that is not appropriate without even knowing it. And it's easier to keep people away in protecting the elephants than to try and control all the people. I think that's why, most true sanctuaries don't have programs, volunteer programs, where people come in and they're around the elephants. Now, you go to Asia, you can feed, you can have your picture taken, you can bathe the elephants. Well, that's not a sanctuary. That's just a different type of tourist attraction. So if you want to be around elephants, find a place where you can volunteer. That's the way you start.
All right. So aren't Asian elephants endangered? How then do people acquire them? And shouldn't that be illegal?
Okay, so Asian elephants have been endangered since 1974. Prior to that time, you could own them just like you could have a dog. Now you can own them, but buying them is illegal. Paying for them is illegal, but you can acquire them. So like someone can donate an elephant to us, but I can't go out and buy one. Zoos, in theory, don't exchange money when they get an elephant. They exchange something else, maybe other animals. So you can get an elephant, but then the final thing is, if you're going to have an elephant on exhibit to where you're letting people come in, you must have a USDA license. And I think it would be quite difficult for a private person who had a USDA license. I think it'd be pretty difficult for them to get an elephant. The good thing is there aren't a whole lot of elephants left in the US, okay? We don't have a real problem with a bunch of people going and getting elephants, but we do have zoos that will get together, a collection of zoos will get together, and they don't get Asian elephants anymore, they get African elephants. So about every 10 years, there'll be 3 or 4 zoos that get together, and they get, 15 elephants, young elephants from Africa, and they do it because conservation. And that's one of the things that I believe needs to change, is the definition of conservation. Because conservation is supposed to be that the offspring of endangered species or wildlife is reintroduced into the wild. But the reality for elephants in the US, there has never been a captive-born elephant in the US that was ever reintroduced into the wild. So how can they call that conservation? Their overall efforts in their organization may be conservation, but their elephants are not conservation.
Yeah, that's what we call it, IDA Conservation Con. So another question, Carol. Mundi has been well accepted by Beau and Tara. How do you plan to handle the integration of the larger herd when Beau's former co-worker elephants arrive? What will you do if they don't like her?
I just love this. This assumption that they won't like her. Why wouldn't they like her? There's nothing not to like about her. No, I'm not concerned.
Yeah, that's a good problem you're looking forward to, I'm sure. So let's see, we're just going to take a few more because we've gone on for over an hour. Let's see now. Okay, I'm sure you kind of answered this before, and I think he's talking about Asia here. How do you get people there to shift to something else to earn money that doesn't involve capture and exploitation of elephants? And what might that be?
Well, the reality is it's You want to create a revenue generating occupation that replaces elephants for tourists. And I'll tell you that elephants in Asia generate more money than any other job anybody in Thailand or Nepal or India could want to have, because the tourists are foreigners, and the value, what they will pay to see an elephant is a month's salary for somebody. And there'll be 10 tourists that are willing to pay that. So it just gets right down to money. You've got to get the tourists, you got to educate the tourists so that they stop asking for that. And it is happening, especially in Thailand. There's been a lot of pressure. World Animal Protection has been on it for years. You know, there's other organizations that are working to educate the tourists to stop asking for that. Because when you don't ask for that, the people who own elephants are going to look for another thing. And now what can they offer? Oh, watch the elephants. And when it's no fun to watch the elephant in a dirt path, a dirt spot right there, okay, take them to the jungle. Take the elephants back to the jungle, keep them in the jungle, and the tourists come to the jungle and watch the elephants. So it's a slow process, but it is happening. And it's the foreigners who are coming in, creating these programs that are better for elephants. Those are the progressive programs. The Thai programs are not progressive. The Nepali programs are not progressive, but it's the foreigners coming in and creating alternatives. And that's how the change happens.
All right, we'll just do a couple more here. I think you mentioned about Beau being why he was castrated, but someone asked, why would they castrate an endangered species ever?
Well, male Asian elephants are surplus somewhat the moment they're born. Surplus meaning they're of no value because they are already represented. There are so few breeding males that they're overrepresented. So those boys, you know, with cattle or whatever, they would just euthanize them. Okay, but you can't euthanize them because they're an endangered species. So castration is actually a gift to that elephant because you're not going to breed it, or even if you were, castration prevents the elephant from going through must. Must is an annual season that they go through, and it is horrific for a captive elephant. So their testosterone level shoots through the roof. They are not hungry. All they want to do is breed. They become very aggressive. And what happens in zoos? Where do you think they put those bulls that are in must? You can guess, okay? It's not a good life. And then as they come out of that must, if they're a trained elephant and they're being used for shows, they have to be reintroduced to dominance. So they have to go through that whole horrible training again to remind them who's in charge. So when you castrate a captive held bull that has no option of ever going back to the wild, you are giving them a gift. They will never go through must. Therefore, they will stay very stable. They will be easy. They won't get aggressive. Well, they won't get aggressive due to the testosterone, and they will have a better life. That's Beau. He's got such a great life now. If he was not castrated, we wouldn't have been able to take him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really tough for bull elephants in captivity.
It's horrible.
Okay, now just one more question. So many good questions. I'm sorry we don't have many more hours to answer them all, but Marita says, what an amazing person you are. Do you know the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust in Africa? What do you think of their work with orphaned elephants? How does it compare with your work with these extraordinary creatures?
I think the work that the Sheldrick group does is phenomenal. And, you know, they're in the second generation already. Her daughter is running it now, and they've learned so much from those babies. I'll tell you something that maybe you don't know. Originally, when they started rescuing those babies, they would use a hot shot. You know what that is? A little electric prod that they use on cattle. they would use the hot shot on these babies because they had been told by elephant experts, elephant trainers that were experts, those babies are going to kill you. You know, elephants go out of control and they're going to kill you. You have to have that electrical shock box to keep them from killing you. And it took them a very short time to reject that and say, we don't believe that. These babies are not what you think they are. So they totally disprove that they become this wild, aggressive creature if they're not controlled and trained. And that, you know, what they've shown decade after decade, the knowledge that they've acquired and been able to educate so many people about elephants is phenomenal. And then, you know, they show how evolved elephants are, that an elephant that was raised there as an orphan and then finally went off on her own brings her babies back to show her extended family, her babies. That's how evolved elephants are. They are not only intelligent, they are extremely, extremely evolved. I think their work is fantastic.
Oh, all right. Thank you for that. Carol, just one last thing. It's not actually a question. It says, Carol, please turn that pic of the trio into a holiday card so we can buy it from the Elephant Aid International online store. Love,
Right.
love, love. So there's a vote for that, Carol.
Very good. I'll get right on it.
As soon as she gets off this webinar here. All right. Well, thank you all for all these great questions. And people are mentioning Lucy in Edmonton. I'm sure, Carol, you know about Lucy. And Carol has been helpful for the Oregon Zoo elephants, trying to get them to sanctuary. So for all of you who are asking her work with trying to help zoo elephants, I know Carol personally has helped with that and would love to help more if she could. We're up against the AZA, we're up against zoos, so we'll just keep knocking away at that. But anyway, thank you, Carol. I so appreciate you coming on and doing this wonderful webinar for everyone. And thanks to everyone for joining us today. And you will all get a link to the recording later so you can watch again or share with your friends.
Well,
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Thanks to everybody for joining. I just wanted to take a moment before we completely close and just also thank the IDA staff who's helped to run this webinar. We have Mary Easonsey, who's been answering some of your questions in the chat box, and we have our development director, Bob Price, who's also been helping to answer some of those questions you had, and Itamar, who is our IT director, who helped us with the videos and making sure everything went smoothly. So just wanted to point those folks out and thank Courtney for doing the wonderful interview with Carol. And of course, we are very grateful to you, Carol, for spending your time with us today. You know, you are truly one of the elephant heroes of the world, and I couldn't think of a better way to spend World Elephant Day than with you, and to hear your stories and see some of these wonderful videos and hear the sounds. I'm always going to remember those special sounds.
Well, it's been my pleasure. I love sharing all that elephants have taught me. And I really believe that as we share this information, it will make things better for captive elephants.
Oh, well, thank you for that hopeful note, Carol.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to thank all the IDA staff too, especially you too, Lisa. And Itamar, you're our hero.
Definitely.
We had some technical issues to overcome, and he really helped us. So anyway, everyone, have a great rest of your day. And Carol and everyone, thank you so very much for joining us today.
Yes, and if you'd like to, we will post this on the replay. If you registered, you will get the replay. And we will also post it on our YouTube channel. So there's lots of ways to review if you'd like. And then if you have additional questions, you can reach out to Courtney, and her email, we'll put that into the chat before we close. And that way, if there's something that you'd like to ask, you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, and I thank you all for your great questions. I just got to just a small number of them, and they were all very good questions, you know, so I want to thank you for that.
We hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and we look forward to staying connected. Thank you all so much.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Hi, Carol.
Bye.